Honorable Speaker of the Knesset, Member of Knesset Yariv Levin, Honorable Chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs and National Defense in the Chamber of Deputies of Brazil, Deputy Eduardo Bolsonaro, Honorable Chairman of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, Member of Knesset Tzvi Hauser, Member of Knesset Uzi Dayan, Head of the Israel-Brazil Parliamentary Friendship Group, Director General of the Knesset, Mr. Sami Bakalash, Ambassador of Israel to Brazil, Mr. Yossi Sheli, representatives of the Brazilian Embassy in Israel, distinguished guests. I am pleased to open the ceremony of the signing of the joint statement between the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee of the Knesset and the Committee on Foreign Affairs and National Defense of the Chamber of Deputies in Brazil. I would like to invite the Speaker of the Knesset, the Honorable Yariv Levin, to offer remarks.
Honorable Chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs and National Defense in the Chamber of Deputies of Brazil, Deputy Eduardo Bolsonaro, our friend Eduardo Bolsonaro. Honorable Chairman of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, Member of Knesset Tzvi Hauser, Member of Knesset Uzi Dayan, Chair of the Israel-Brazil Parliamentary Friendship Group, Ambassador of Israel to Brazil, Mr. Yossi Sheli, Shalom Yossi, representative of the Brazilian Embassy in Israel, Director General of the Knesset, Mr. Sami Bakalash. Dear friends, on November 29, 1947, Brazilian diplomat Osvaldo Aranha chaired the historic UN session. The vote that day led, within 6 months, to the establishment of the State of Israel, the state of the Jewish people. More than 70 years have passed since the historic moment when the Latin American countries played a significant part in the establishment of the State of Israel. Today, we can say without any doubt that relations between Israel and Brazil are stronger than ever. Today, we are about to sign the first agreement between our parliaments, but I am sure it will not be the last. I can tell you, dear colleagues, that the great physical distance that separates us doesn't at all reduce the close feelings between Israel and Latin America. And I know that in Brazil in particular, there is great love for the State of Israel and the people of Israel. Of course, those feelings are mutual. Eduardo, my friend, less than a year ago, you led a visit of your committee to Israel, and you did something that not many people do. You asked to visit the Psagot winery with an official delegation. This is the right thing to do. It recognizes that Judah and Samaria are an integral part of the State of Israel. Another very important thing you did on your visit was to open the Brazilian trade office in Jerusalem. This is recognition that the fact that Jerusalem is the eternal capital of Israel is undeniable. This is our capital, this is the capital of the Jewish people, and it cannot be ignored. I hope that on your next visit, we will have the privilege of dedicating the Brazilian embassy here in Jerusalem. On this occasion, I would like to thank you personally for your support and warm feelings for Israel and the Israeli people. Thank you, my friend. In recent years, ties between Israel and Brazil have become much stronger. Cooperation between our countries has been strengthened at all levels: security, diplomacy, and business and culture cooperation. As Speaker of the Knesset, I will ensure that our inter-parliamentary ties are further strengthened as well. Israel and Brazil have a lot to learn from each other in many areas: water, innovation, technology, renewable energy. To tell you the truth, not in football. Here the only thing that can be done is that we learn from you. At the parliamentary level, we will continue to work together on foreign affairs, security, innovation, legislation, exchanges of delegations, and more. We will also continue to strengthen our relationship at the multilateral level through joint projects at the IPU and through the joint efforts of our delegations. These are not easy times for parliaments around the world. The coronavirus has hit countries around the world very hard. But as Speaker of the Knesset, I am happy and proud that Israeli democracy continues to flourish. I know that the National Congress has also continued its work, and the signing of the joint declaration today is proof that even in difficult times, parliamentary diplomacy is alive and well. I am a firm believer in parliamentary diplomacy, in building bridges between elected officials, and thus, in fact, building bridges between the hearts of the nations. And so, Tzvi and Eduardo, I ask today that this be just the beginning of your joint journey. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Speaker Levin. I would like to invite the Honorable Chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs and National Defense in the Chamber of Deputies of Brazil, Deputy Eduardo Bolsonaro, to offer remarks.
Onde que fica a câmera aqui certinho? Ah, tá aqui do laptop aqui, né? Shalom, my friends. Toda rabá that we are going to have, that we are having this meeting here, and I have a mix of feelings. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm not used with this kind of situation. I'm not used to speaking English publicly, and a little bit comfortable because this is not just a paperwork. This is a meeting between friends, and I'm really comfortable. Mr. President Yariv, congratulations. I'm sure that we are going to keep the great foreign affairs relation that we were used with Mr. Yuli Elderstein. See, this is a very hard name to we here in Brazil to talk, but I memorized that because we had a great time together with him. And this short story started in 2016 when me, my father Jair Bolsonaro, and also my family with my brothers, nowadays Senator Flávio Bolsonaro and the City Council from Rio, Carlos Bolsonaro, we went to know Israel. And personally, I didn't have idea what we would find in that trip. And it was a so great trip. And I also thanks our Brazilian guide, Aline, that showed so much things that we do not see in the press here in Brazil. So we became fans of Israel. And at that moment, the president of Knesset, Yuli Elderstein, received us in the Knesset, and we said at that time, sorry, because our former president, Dilma Rousseff, in 2016, she denied with no excuses the credentials of Mr. Danny Dayan to be the ambassador of Israel in Brazil. Thanks God, Danny Dayan went up to United States, got the chair of consul, and now I think he's going to be back in Israel. I think he just retired. I even sent some greetings to him. And after that, we kept the relations. And I don't know if you know that, but before the election of Jair Bolsonaro in 2018, he was used to arrive in a lot of airports around Brazil. And we are in a moment that we are trying to rescue the feeling of patriotism of the Brazilians. And on the airports in Brazil, receiving the candidates Jair Bolsonaro, you only had two flags there, the Brazilian flag and the Israeli flag. You can see the image on the videos. You have a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I'm sure you're going to easily find that. It shows a lot what we here in Brazil, we don't have the biggest Jewish community, but you have a big support from the Christians here in Brazil. And you know that you are a democracy, you respect the women. And as Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu said during a General Assembly of the United Nations in 2016, year after year, the countries are changing. More and more countries are voting together with Israel. They are voting against the terrorists. And one day, Israel will be recognized as you are, Democrats, freedom fighters, and a country that is going to bring peace to the Middle East. So I congratulations you, gentlemen, for the recently peace agreement signed with Bahrain and United Arabs. This is really nice, and we feel even more comfortable to move our embassy to Jerusalem. The term of Jair Bolsonaro ends on 2022, and I'm sure that before that, and me personally, Eduardo Bolsonaro, in my opinion, I think this movement to the embassy to Jerusalem must happen next year, maybe in November, the same month that the Brazilian diplomat Osvaldo Aranha, what he made in 1947, he was looking, for sure you know, but now I say, excuse me, to show the Brazilians and the rest of the world why Osvaldo Aranha is so important, a Brazilian diplomat, is so important to the relations between our countries. It's because in 1947, during that General Assembly of the United Nations, he saw that Israel would lose its territory. So he suspended the session and talked country after country to convince to the countries to vote for Israel. And when he started the session, Israel was recognized with your territory after you suffered so much after the Holocaust and after the Second World War. Osvaldo Aranha was also a key diplomat that brings Brazil to fight the Second World War on the side of the freedom and the democracy, together with Great Britain, together with the United States and all the other partners. This is other history, but Osvaldo Aranha was really a great man, and I'm very proud that he is Brazilian. Only to finish this speech, it was necessary list the number of the good things that Israel is doing for Brazil. Some people don't see that. Sometimes you can't read that in the mainstream media. But in this opportunity, gentlemen, once again, Mr. Zvi, President of the Foreign Affairs and National Defense Committee in the Knesset, Mr. Gentlemen, military attachés that are watching me now, this young politician from Brazil, thank you. Toda rabá. I have to say what you made of good to the people of Brazil. First thing, it was the first time that we received in Brazil a prime minister from Israel since 1947, when Israel was created. You know, you have your territory. We never received a prime minister here in Brazil. And Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu came here to the inauguration of Jair Bolsonaro. Thank you very much. And the Chancellor of Brazil, Ernesto Araújo, gave me the honor to be the first one authority in Brazil to shake hands with Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife, Sarah. What was a great honor for me. And I saved this picture, and for sure I'm going to show it to my sons. By the way, to my daughter that's going to be born in maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And I'm very proud of that too. And it moved me to the feeling to travel to Israel, to go open together again with Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, our Apex, our office for trades in Jerusalem, which was the first step to the movement that we are going to do with the embassy, the Brazilian embassy, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, as Guatemala, United States, and many other countries are thinking and planning to do some. I had also the honor to be the president of the Foreign Affairs and National Defense Committee of Brazil, to lead with my colleagues that also I enjoy to say thank you, Mr. Fábio Ramalho, Mr. Hildo Rocha, José Rocha, and Léo Moraes, to visit Pisagor. As the president of Knesset just said, Mr. Yared, and it was the first time that a committee formed by politicians of Brazil visited a place in Cisjordania controlled by Israel, very nice community, and I hope to go there back. Also because my wife says to me that the only condition that I have to come back to Israel is together with her. Because when we talk so much about how great you are, how nice is the country, how nice is the culture, that she says to me that it's not fair I come back there without her. So this is my commitment with my wife. I have to come back there with her. And I hope to do that soon. Also to thank you, the troops of IDF that came to Brazil to help during that tragedy that we have here called Brumadinho. You helped hundreds of families that lost their relatives in an accident in the middle of Brazil. So thank you, IDF. Thank you, Benjamin Netanyahu, to send us this help. We are going to be forever thankful because that. And even in my committee, we approved it. We had a little bit of hesitance, but we approved it. A motion saying thank you to the government of Israel because the help that we gave in so sad moments that we lived here in Brazil. Thank you. Thank you because you are supporting us to enter in a CDE. Thank you when you sent firefighters to us last year during the fires at the dry season of the Amazon forest. You don't only speak, you act. You don't wait someone. You don't wait someone ask you. You want the good of Brazil. You help us in this situation. So once again, I have here Avant. What is the translation for Avant? Drones. Yeah, we have a drone here on the border of Brazil with Israeli technology helping us to combat, to fight back against some crimes on our border. So this high technology developed in Israel is helping us here to bring more security to Brazil. I tried, but we didn't have time enough. I'm almost ending. I tried, but we didn't have time enough to approve in my committee the military agreement between Israel and Brazil, a cooperation military agreement. And then when came the pandemic, the works there are suspended. So I hope when we start back the works in my committee, we approve this very nice military agreement between our countries that was signed in March of last year. I think we have a great future when you talk about satellites. We have a lot of interests when you talk about the satellites that Israel already have. And I know that you want to let also take benefits from these satellites. So this is something that we have in mind. And also now that we approve it together with the United States, agreement that let Brazil launch satellites to the space using our center of launching called Alcântara. I hope we have some Israel satellites launching from there. It's so great because you save fuel, you have the possibility to do the launchings with less money. So it's a great thing that we would like to offer for our friends in Israel. The other years I said, and that's it, my friends. I'm really, really, really proud to do the first time that we are doing here this kind of document that we are going to sign between our countries. And I'm sure that we have a bright future. As Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu said during the 2016 General Assembly. By the way, now President Jair Bolsonaro is speaking during the opening of the General Assembly. And for sure, he has Israel in his heart. And I'm sure that's not going to take so long to move our embassy to Israel, showing to the rest of the country that they have to do the same if we want to bring peace to the Middle East. Thanks God. More and more countries are recognizing that, and I'm sure that we are going to be together for a long, long, long time, because the Brazilians, they are looking how good, how many benefits we are bringing to Brazil because of you. So, Toda Rabá, Shalom.
Thank you very much, Deputy Eduardo Bolsonaro. I would like to invite the Honorable Chairman of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, Member of Knesset Zvi Hauser, to offer remarks.
Honorable Speaker of the Knesset, Member of Knesset Yariv Levin, Honorable Chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs and National Defense in the Chamber of Deputies of Brazil, Deputy Eduardo Bolsonaro, our friend, my friend. Ambassador of Israel to Brazil, Yossi Shelley, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. It is my great honor to be here today to participate in the signing of the joint statement that will establish the inter-parliamentary cooperation between Israel and Brazil. As chairman of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, I am proud to have had the privilege to lead the joint efforts that brought us to this point, alongside my friend, Deputy Eduardo Bolsonaro, and with the help of our dear Ambassador, Yossi Shelley. Based on the historically friendly relations between the two countries and between the people of Israel and Brazil, I am glad to strengthen and extend our relations by developing the ties between the committees. I hope this will be another milestone in our bilateral relations in the fields of national defense and foreign affairs, such as foreign policy of the states, its armed force, and its security. There is no question that both parliaments will benefit from our newly signed agreement. In that spirit, I would also like to express my deep commitment to our joint fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Both countries should join forces and combat it effectively. In these challenging times, when meeting in person is not an option. We have managed to overcome all obstacles and sign this important agreement. I hope that once the dust of the corona storm will settle and the world will recover from the pandemic, I will have the honor to host you, Israel's true friends, and my personal friend, Eduardo Bolsonaro, here in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of Israel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Member of Knesset Hauser. I would like to invite Ambassador Shelley to offer remarks.
הלו, עכשיו שומעים. הלו?
שומעים.
כן, שומעים אותך בלי הזמן.
Ok, אני מבין שאדוארדו, você quer falar antes de mim uma segunda? Eduardo, você quer falar antes de mim ou depois? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will start my few words. I will not be long, but first I want to thank for the... Okay, אדוארדו, você quer falar? אני חושב שאדוארדו רוצה להגיד עוד כמה מילים, אז אם אתם יכולים לאפשר לו ככה, נעשה את זה.
בבקשה.
אדוארדו, você pode falar agora. הוא לא רוצה, אוקיי. טוב, אוקיי. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Chairman of the Knesset, Yariv Levin, Advocado Tzvi Hauser, the Chairman of, the President of the Council of Foreign Affairs, my good friend Eduardo Bolsonaro, the President of this committee, all the members of the Israeli Knesset, and all the friends that are listening to us. First, the time is too short to say how Israel and Yossi as ambassador is great for Brazil, especially this administration with President Jair Messias Bolsonaro and his team. Never have been such good relationship between Brazil and Israel. There was, but not in this level. The help of the president to Israel in all the sectors, all in the international, during those almost 2 years was something unexpected. And I think we have to pray to have this relationship with this family. And I usually used to call, you know, Osvaldo Aranya is like a hero, but I think that Bolsonaro is the second Osvaldo Aranya, just to mention how deep is our relationship with Brazil. And I want to thank especially for Eduardo, that he is a satellite in Brazil, not only for his skills, for his great help that he have done to Israel. During many times, always there was an open door when the Hamas was attacking Israel 2 years ago with thousands of missiles. He came to the parliament and make a great speech against, and always with him and other good deputies, he did a great job to defend Israel because he knows what we know, the democracy, human rights. And so it will be, as I said, it will be short to mention all the activities. He mentioned many, and I will mention some, the opening the office. And for the minister, Yariv Levin, that was the minister of tourists, he established the first line between São Paulo and Israel. This also things that was like 20 years ago, 11 years ago, 2010. And all those small things are making the big picture that everybody likes, and a lot of our, well, we can say it, the people that don't like Israel don't like it. Eduardo is a great defensor of Israel. He sometimes even risks himself to defend us. And what he said about Alcantara, to maybe that Israel will launch satellite from there, this is a good way to what we call to continue the contribution between those two parties, those two nations, great nation. And I think that Brazil now is in a good way to skyrocket. Brazil has a great potential, and the people generally. And this is a great opportunity, the first agreement that is signed between those two parliaments. And of course, I want to thank Tzvi Hauser, Deputy Tzvi Hauser, and because this thing was many, how we say, it was like in the how we say in Gaveta, in the store, you know, for 2 years or more, and 1 week we all together gather to make this agreement to be signed. Use this opportunity to thank everybody, to the Jewish community here that are supporting us every time, and we are helping them, they help us, and to tell everyone thanks, thank you for the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, that was always, you know, with the President of Brazil, those big, huge motors that once in a while are having some talks. And of course, I will never forget the Minister of Foreign Affairs that is doing so much, and unfortunately a lot of people don't understand the power of this ministry, and this is the best way to say to everybody, Shana Tova, Amar Chatima Tova, and let's continue on signing agreement. Thank you, friends. Toda Rabba.
So I understand that Deputy Eduardo Bolsonaro, you would like to make a few more remarks.
Nice. As I said, I'm a little bit nervous, but also comfortable. And it wouldn't be fair to finish this celebration without talking about how important is Mr. Yossi Shelley, how important he is to bring this committee, our committee, to Israel. No, seriously, Mr. Yossi, I'm not quite a regular politician. I don't talk good things about people that do not deserve, because my names go when I do that. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about, but how proactive you have. You are no doubt about that. From here, from Brazil, I would like to do a testimonial to our friends in Israel that we are here together with the most activity ambassador in Brazil. No doubt about that. Do you have, I don't know if you know, but here in Brazil, we love soccer. And the President Bolsonaro, he loves more than anyone other. He brought the ambassador of Israel to the final of the South America Cup in Maracanã last year. And Ambassador Yossi Shelley brought a good look to Brazil because we won. So we became champion of the South America Cup last year. And after that, everything that I list here about the Brumadinho tragedy, when we received the IDF troops here, and all the rest, bring the committee to Israel, show what is going on, and sometimes even this speech that he's talking, and I would love if you have time to watch that in YouTube. And a couple of years ago, during a session called Al-Quds session in the Congress, it was Mr. Yossi Shelley who told me that the Congress of Brazil, we were having that session. So I run it to the plenary and remark some points that how democratic and how good Israel is for the region. So thank you very much to listen to me again. And I wouldn't finish this session without talking these words about your ambassador here in Brazil. So thank you very much. Toda Rabba Yossi Shelley. And last week we were here together, the celebrations of the Shana Tova. נחזור. שנה טובה.
Okay, thank you very much once again. We will now proceed to the signing of the joint statement.
אנחנו בעצם פה? כן. אוקיי.